In this video, we're going to go through Synap's resolution marking feature and how it works with provisional marking. Before we get started, let's have a look at how provisional marking and resolution works in an exam. So we've got a load of attempts here, most have been submitted, and we've got a few that have been completed. If you have a look at these two in particular, you can see that the provisional step here has been completed in disagreement, whilst this one just below has been completed in agreement. And what this means is, on the questions in this exam, we've set on each rubric area an agreement threshold. We've said as long as the provisional markers are within that agreement threshold, then we'll consider them in agreement. This essentially means that the system can act as a moderator marker. I'll explain this a little bit more in a second. When they complete it in disagreement, i.e. they both awarded two different things that were like too different from each other, we've said on this exam that a human moderator, in this case, Dave, needs to step in and act as the source of the final marks. Let's have a look at the questions in this exam to explain it further. So if we go to source, it's used in this quiz, and we can either look at that in our library or we can look at it from the questions page. On this question here, which was in the exam, if we go straight to marking, we can see these areas here. These are frozen at the moment because the exam is live, and to make changes, we need to publish those. But for now, we can see that each rubric area was out of a max 6 credits. We've set an agreement threshold of 1 point. What this means is we're saying as long as our markers gave within 1 point of each other on each rubric area, this would be an agreement. If they gave greater than 1 point, then this would be disagreement. We've said on the question level, when an agreement is met, the system can award, in this case, the average, but you could set that as the highest, lowest, median. So essentially what this means, and we'll go through an example in a second, is if two markers, a marker 1, provisional marker 1 gave 5, 5, 5, 5, and provisional marker 2 gave 1, 1, 1, 1, this would be disagreement. But if they both gave all 5s, or one gave all 5 and one gave all 4s, this would be an agreement. If we go back to our exam, let's have a look at this in practice. So if we go back to attempt management, and we'll find an attempt that's ready to mark. Let's pick Martin's, have a look at the attempt ID, just so we know which one to pick, and who is assigned to it. So Peter and Taylor. So if we go in here, I am logged in as Peter, and I'm looking for the attempt that is FZN. This one. Candidate information is hidden just because I've got some specific blind configurations on the exam, but it's up to you however you want to make it. We go into mark, and I am marking as provisional marker, so I can start my session. Got the student's answer here. Peter might decide to give this a perfect score, and he can go and leave some suggested feedback, which won't automatically show to the candidate. That's up to whoever's going to finalise it to decide what happens there. Can say this was great. Internal notes, this is a perfect answer. Can save. Go to the next unmarked response. It's only a 2-question exam, but if there were auto-marked ones in there, then that would do it for me. Let's award all 6s again, just for a demonstration. Save. At this point, as a provisional, if I want to, I can save it and come back. I'm happy with what I've put, so I'm just going to submit that because we have another one to do as well. If we go back to our exam, have a look at the marking configuration. I've said that every single attempt needs a minimum of 2 provisional markers to do that. Here's my list of provisional markers. In the case that they don't agree, it's going to go to the moderator markers automatically, and this is the 2 that who could get it. I've set this up as a round robin, which means it's just going to allocate them. The system's just going to allocate them at sort of random and to keep the workflow balanced. If you don't want to do that and you want to manage it, you can manually assign markers. It's just a case of going in to attempt management, selecting the user and assigning from there. We can see his status is updated on this attempt to be in progress. So it's time to go in as the final provisional and award the marks accordingly. So if I log out as Peter from here, and we're going to go in as Taylor. Lovely, it's that FZN1, again, candidate information hidden. I'm a provisional, I can just go straight into here. We've got double and blind marking configured, so Taylor's not allowed to see what the marker before it gave her. They could mark them in unison as well. So let's just force a disagreement on this. If Taylor rewarded all 6s now or all 5s, that would make it an agreement because I've set that 1 point difference. Let's just say she goes in with 2s. Maybe she leaves an internal note. Saving as I go. Jumping over to the next question. We can go to 2s again. Saving. And it's ready to be submitted, exactly the same as last time. So if we've done everything correctly at this point, and that's just gone straight into completed, but she can check it again if she wants. If we've done everything correct at this point, when we refresh, this should have completed in disagreement, which it has. It's now been auto-assigned to a human moderating marker who is in our list, and he's got to decide the final marks now because the 2 provisionals couldn't agree. So let's log in as him and finish the workflow for this attempt. Going to log in. It's worth noting here that markers can assume multiple roles. So someone might be a moderating marker as well as a provisional. The role is going to show for them on their markers inbox page, which is what this is. Only 1 attempt to mark, that's the right one. And if we go in here, we can see where those agreement thresholds start to come in, because obviously they don't show for the provisionals. So we can see every single one of these has got a score conflict. If there was a rubric area they did agree on, that wouldn't show. However, the whole thing would still need to be marked by the moderator marker because it's considered a disagreement at the attempt level. So I can go in now, I can go and look at the history, I can see where the conflicts are, I can see the suggested feedback in the internal notes. There's a big difference in these two. Obviously, that usually doesn't happen. Perhaps I think it wasn't quite perfect, but it definitely wasn't a 2. So I can go in, I can leave my feedback. It was an solid answer. Provisional that awarded 2 was harsh. Whatever it is, again, those internal notes will never show to candidates, so within reasonable limits, you can kind of put what you want. 5, 5, 5, 5. Save. All right, once I'm happy, submit the marks, exactly the same as last time. Go back to our exam management page as an admin. I can refresh this, and now I can see that moderating step is completed. I can, if I want to, finalise the marks from here. I might say, as I have set up in this exam, I've allowed the back reading role, and this is if I essentially want another pair of eyes before we finalise it, to say, where is it? If I want another pair of eyes, I can assign it to this guy, and it's going to be sent for back reading, and then he can kind of override what the moderator marker said, as long as it's not been finalised yet, and he becomes the source of the final marks. So to do that, I would go into here, and I would assign a marker, and I would select my back reader from the list. But for now, that is essentially how resolution marking works on Synap. The really important thing is to remember is the agreement threshold and the strategy for resolving is set at the question level. They can be set on differently on different questions in an exam, but they need to be set there. And it only works for provisionals. So you have to have the provisional role in use in your exams in order to use this sort of feature. And then remembering that when an agreement is met, we can completely skip that moderating step, and the system will act as the moderating marker.